Hello and welcome to the first Eisen Index public debate. This debate is to ascertain the qualitative traits of several Hearthlander cultural pillars, including games, movies, and TV series, along with any additional quantifiable entities. This debate is sponsored by the Hainite Council Commission on Index Debate, a for-profit politicized organization of which I am a member. The debate will last however long I fucking feel like and cover an assortment of topics as outlined by our two debaters, who I will now introduce. Hailing first, from the frozen north, a gamer of considerable skill, loyal, half-Canadian, coming to us from somewhere in Ontario unspecific because he is constantly paranoid of getting doxxed. Former king and present-day administrator of the official Hearth server, Warcries.
Yeah! Woo!
And introducing his opponent, hailing from the desolate land of Chicago, honorary spinjitzu master and political scholar in training, hero of Hearth by rank and leader of the unofficial Hearth Among Us Discord, recently red-pilled former Biden supporter, Sarfnic.
Yeah! We got this. I got it.
We will now review the rules and format for this debate. The first debater, chosen randomly, will select a topic to be indexed from any category. The literal god presiding, yours truly, will grant a preliminary rating on each relevant subcategory before passing final judgment. The opposition will be allowed a chance to rebuttal, and the nominator will be allowed a brief response to that in an attempt to change the ruling of the literal god. The literal god will then promptly ignore the debaters and make his own fucking decision. We will now discuss the rating indices on the official Eisen Index Review Records Google document. In order of quality, these ratings are cringe for the worst, cringiest, indecised items of the universe. Felonious, degenerate, callow, borderline, approved, supernal, and the highest honor one such as myself, the literal god, can bestow, a keck rating for an item. Special tags that will be included if the literal god has not experienced said item or has an experience with this item to not complete it. Not experienced, incomplete, viewer requested. And if there is an episodic or seasonal installment of an item at question, the plus multiple installments will be added as a special tag as well. The major categories today are games, movies, TV series, and other entities. We will now decide the first debater with the flip of the lucky trump coin.
I pick Tails.
Tails. Sarfnic will begin by nominating one thing to be indexed. However,
He should have a list of three everything probably. Not sure if you actually listened.
I shall pick first from TV series, and I'm just going random here to be honest, because I'm not prepared for this. I shall have Ninjago be our first starter for this one. This will probably rise some
has
debate.
nominated Lego Ninjago.
Well, here we go.
I'm pro Ninjago, by the way.
Please hold for the setting up of the document.
I believe Warcries is going to go side anti-Ninjago, right?
So Aramus is first going to start by presenting his pre-debate position, and then we will have a debate, Sarfnic and I. Aramus will then present his fucking decision. Correct, Aramus?
Correct. Debaters are advised to use this time to prepare their arguments.
What are you dumb? Create a list of three of each type of things so that you can present them.
So for what?
Three of each topic. So 3 movies, 2 TV series, since you already did 1, 3 games, and 3 entities that you'd like to do this debate.
Oh, so that I'd like to review, you mean?
That you'd like to present for Aramus to review.
Okay, I'll create that right now.
The debate format will be one person will nominate something to be reviewed, the literal god will give his preliminary review, the opposition, in this case Warcries, will try to sway the literal god, and then you will try to sway the literal god. And then the literal god will decide. Let us begin with our first topic. Lego Ninjago, Masters of Spinjitzu, a multiple seasonal episodic experience, which I have an incomplete experience with. It should be noted that this rating will be based on seasons 8 through 11. Okay, so the story of Lego Ninjago, Masters of Spinjitzu. I have researched quite a bit about the lore. The lore itself is not bad. The story, as it plays through the episodes, even in what I am told are some of the better seasons, is so goddamn convoluted. Take this D and be thankful that I am being that generous to the story of Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. Now, the characters are far more important.
Until he's done the entire thing.
Correct. I will not give an overall rating until both of you have argued. Characters. There are some good characters in Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. They are, however, dampened so awfully by every other cringe-ass character that they add. The only objectively good character that would get higher than an A rating from me is Garmadon, and possibly Wu. Everyone else is fucking trash. Characters get to C.
Okay.
That's a bold C.
No, it's not a bold C.
Does it have to be Comic Sans to be considered bold?
Yes, it has to be Comic Sans and bold to be considered cringe.
Everything here is bold right now.
Yeah, I know, Warcries.
I love
Shut fuck. Only the Comic Sans see. Shut up, I will love you less. Writing and acting. The voice acting itself isn't awful. Garmadon and Wu, again, obviously steal the show. The writing in this show completely removes everything from that. The writing in that show is a cringe. Like a bad cringe.
Tommy and Jason.
The size of the Comic Sans C denotes additional levels of cringe. The visuals. I can't fucking stand Lego art style, like animated art style. The only ones that pulled that off okay was the Lego movie. Ninjago, they just do so much shit that's outside the realm of Lego as well. Like the dragons, they're not Legos. Like why? Half of the shit in the show, the magic isn't Lego-ified. If you're gonna do that, you gotta take the Minecraft approach. Aside from that, the visuals just aren't that spectacular regardless. I'm gonna give this an F.
What? Okay, that's gonna have some change.
Direction. This is an interesting one. This ties in a lot to the story. The actual scene capture and choreography and stuff that they do for Lego type stuff and on other subjects like claymation, that type of stuff generally is pretty good. But here's the thing. You can't direct a pile of shit to be anything else than a pile of shit at the end of the day. This is one where the direction style is not unique enough to change my overall opinion that much, therefore I'm going to give this a D. The score and sound design, perhaps Lego Ninjago's strongest arena. Unfortunately, not important to the grand scheme of things. Sarfnic, you have posted several good Ninjago scores. On an objective level, the sound design is okay. The score itself is where Ninjago gets its lift here. I might go so far as to give the Ninjago score, because it is for what it is. I do not objectively like the score for myself, but for everything else, Ninjago scores a B.
Jay Vincent, Michael Kramer would be so proud.
Uniqueness. Yeah, sure. There is a point where uniqueness becomes randomnimity, though. The amount of different types of shit that tries to go on in Ninjago is crazy. So first you have ninjas, obviously. Then you have sci-fi. Then in the later seasons, you have steampunk people. Then you have Egyptian fantasy, medieval fantasy, elemental, true to form fantasy, like high fantasy. Uniqueness does not mean adding a bunch of shit together. F. Refinement. I shouldn't need to say this. It's a fucking Lego thing. This thing ranks just above the worst animes on that, which is to say, also cringe. All right, Sarfnic, you nominated Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. You will now have 2 minutes to make your case.
Relating to all these different topics.
As to why I should change any of these.
So first off,
you should make my case as to why I should change any of these.
Have you seen Ninjago's latest seasons, visuals-wise? Stunning, first off. I mean, some of these fight scenes must have taken months to animate. Some of these fight scenes. I wish I could show some examples. In fact, I would support giving time for us to collect examples, but I don't have any examples. But you seen March of the Oni with that shit, man? Like, come on. And then next off, the direction. What is direction relating to again? I have to ask them.
Direction is more relating to the choreography and general. It's the writing behind everything, plus the choreography behind everything, plus if you're doing live action, the camera work.
Okay.
The direction is basically the administrative correlation of everything in the top 4.
All right, whatever. Okay, so for uniqueness, You said you didn't like how it kind of combines steam. I didn't know where you got that medieval thing from. So, Ninjago obviously from the start kind of meant to take an Asian theme and mix it kind of with like a modern city thing as well.
Yep. So which was fine on its own. I actually like that.
Kind of weird because they have some seasons that are like really high-tech seasons. Like I could cite season 3 and season 12 being that way. And then they have some seasons that feels like you're in like the 1700s. I would like to say that Ninjago is unique because of what they do with this. I will agree that they've kind of been retarded with some of their things. Like the show feels so different at times, and that's not exactly a good thing. Like, but I feel like once you get past like all the bullshit of the beginning seasons, it's kind of fun to see all these different things and with different realms. It's interesting, so I'd say the uniqueness is underrated.
Thank you, Mr. Sarfnic. Warcries, your rebuttal.
I am going to start with my proposals. I would like to go ahead. Characters is not a okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and raise writing and acting to an F. I'm going to lower visuals to a bold C. I am also going to lower score/sound design, as I believe everything should be subjective in this case, as it is your index, to a C- or a D.
Okay. Sell me on raising the writing and acting to an F.
Okay. Now, this is because I specifically watched, season 13.
Aramus didn't watch it.
There was one specific good scene with the writing in which Lloyd had some PTSD, and I liked that. Other than that, it was
how visceral was the PTSD?
It wasn't the best PTSD, but it was enough to raise it from a C.
Like not Ahsoka Clone Wars PTSD or anything.
No.
Fuck.
I don't think it was. I think it was a scheme of things a pretty bad PTSD, but it's still enough to raise it. Like it'd be in a C tier.
You would bring score and sound design down to a cringe or an F, you said?
No, I said I would bring score and sound design down to a C and visuals to a cringe. Now, sound design itself, I cannot rate properly as I had audio issues with it. But the score I've heard, and going from the score, I think it should be subjective, so a C or a D in my opinion.
Score is at B.
I do like the idea that it is, of course, my index, and therefore I get to rate shit as harshly as I like. It's a very cogent argument there, Requires. Okay, the literal god will now make revisions.
Wait, what? F, I kind of lost the Warcries on that one. I didn't know you were going to actually propose letters.
The literal god will now make his closing overall rating. The literal god hereby states that Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu.
Oh, thank God. Wait, no. I was hoping it would be a D.
Warcries, you may now nominate your first subject.
I want to save the good ones for later. So I'm going to give, since we started with a negative one, I'll give, here, let's see, probably a middling movie, The Lorax.
The Lorax. Very well. Please prepare your arguments as I develop the stage.
Probably, I'd say a movie. Outside of the memes on Hearth, of course.
The literal god will now pass judgment on the Lorax movie. The story of the Lorax is not one that is objectively bad. It is corporation bad, environment good. It is very ham-fisted in its attempt, which is fine because of the younger audience. Even so, the ideal thing would be to focus on the titular Lorax in that instance, or at least give O'Hare some more screen time. I don't like it being all for this thin veneer of one kid simping for an environmentalist chick. Story gets a C. The characters. The only characters, again, are polar here. O'Hare and the Lorax are the only two good characters.
Onceler not good?
No, Onceler bad. Onceler myopic fuck. Oh, actually, you know what? Onceler is okay, but shut fuck until I open the floor. The characters, the two mains that they go along with, I just can't get. I don't. The villain is
gotta mute here. How does he
presumably
like O'Hare
myopic?
And not like Onceler? What?
As is the protagonist, the tacit protagonist in the Lorax. How many characters a D? Writing and acting. Writing and acting. The voice acting for the Lorax was really good. The voice acting for O'Hare is fine. The writing for both of them is not good. The writing for the Lorax is substantially better than O'Hare's, but O'Hare's writing is awful. If I wanted to sell maniacal Machiavellian capitalist, I would not go in that direction. And it just makes him kind of look like one of those doofy villains. And so my real writing issues are both with the protags, because his writing does not stick out, and with O'Hare's, because it's too myopic. I'm going to give writing and acting a D. Visuals. Visuals are actually quite good. I like the art style there. Very, very Seussian in origin, particularly of the Truffula trees. The Truffula trees were very HD, and all of the animals. The reason is why I'm not going to give this a higher rating is because you have the two main lines, the Onceler Lorax line and the New Age line with the simp kid, whose name I forget, by the way. That's how bad of a protagonist he is, and O'Hare.
Ted.
Is that they focus all of the detail in the Lorax Onceler one. The visuals here are fine. I approve. The distribution is bad. And that will come into play, and direction. The direction of this movie is not good, particularly the songs. The choreography of the songs is not good, particularly How Bad Can I Be? I still have PTSD from watching Sarfnic sing this. The direction of this ties into the story as well, but it feels like the major plot devices are kind of janky. It feels like it goes in a sawtooth design. I'm going to give the direction an F. The score and the sound design, I said I hated the music. That's because the music is not the good piece of the score sound design for the Lorax. The ambient shit for the Lorax is way better than any of the songs. The songs are really fucking bad. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to give the score, and normally I'd give this an F or perhaps even a cringe, but because of the ambient design and then the percussive sound design, I will give it a D. The uniqueness. Dr. Seuss, say what you will about him, was pretty unique. The narrative that the Lorax movie chose to tell is not. Capitalism bad, Muhammad jihad, or more accurately, corporatism bad, but let's not let politics totally infuse me with hate for the Lorax. We'll give the uniqueness a D here. Refinement. The production value is very good. It's quite sharp, actually. I like the refinement of this. Animators obviously super high budget, collectively speaking. The refinement's fine. We'll give it an A. Or prize, you nominated the Lorax. Sarfnic, what would you like to see changed here?
How are we? I thought.
He's just baiting you.
The nominator does not go first. The nominator gets the rebuttal.
All right, so
Star shouldn't have gone first last round.
That was a test round. All right, so I would say that you should raise characters to a C, a regular C, because I will admit that the Onceler, mostly based on the Onceler had a kind of interesting character. I liked his relationship with the protagonist Ted a lot, which wasn't really present in the original story as much. I did kind of like the Lorax a lot. As you know, Lorax was a good character. You didn't put him on there either. You said Ted and O'Hare were the best characters, right?
I said Lorax and O'Hare were the best characters.
All right. So, yeah, and related to Ted, I understand that his story is cringe, but at least it's better than just being no story at all. Him and Audrey kind of create a funny relationship despite getting barely any screen time, being like the most important part. That movie was so split, so maybe I'll even convince you to drop.
You dare defend a simp in my call?
It doesn't matter, defend the game, right? Anyhow, insulting the moderator is like the Trump debate. In all seriousness, though, I do think that O'Hare was alright. I actually don't see what you see in O'Hare. I don't think he was really that interesting. I mean, he was funny. Let it die. But yeah, I do think that you should raise the... What were we talking about again? The characters to his common C, whatever that is. It was Callow. And anything else? I'd say direction should be raised because, at least to a D, because yes, it is environmental. It kind of is a little hard on corporations there, but it isn't all hard. Like if you remember, like midway through the movie, the Onceler was keeping his business a go.
What direction is?
I'm talking about whatever the other one is, refinement then. Not refinement. Refinement's an A. The one that it relates to the story or whatever then. Or message or whatever. Okay. So basically, the Onceler.
Or prize. Rebuttal. Excuse me, Mr. Sarfnic. You agreed to these debate rules.
I could do some interrupting.
Or prize.
Mute my mic.
Please be your rebuttal. Or
you have to mute. We need Dust sitting in here. Someone to mute the other person every time. Okay, anyways, back to... Okay, so...
Warcries.
Sarf actually was pretty reasonable there. The only thing I really disagree with him on would be characters. I feel like there are no I feel like there should be middling characters. Like, there's obviously Onceler. Onceler was on one side, he flipped, but he was never actually middling. It was kind of just an immediate flip. There are no characters who just went middling and then converted. I didn't like that at all. I feel like there should be a middling because that's what a lot of people represent.
It's actually a good argument.
So I'd argue characters should be an F, and then I would argue sound design, sound design. I think the ambience has more effect, and I would argue it's a C. I would say overall rating is probably a low C or a high D.
Huh. Okay, so let's take this into account. I'm actually swayed by both of your arguments here. Sarfnic's protestation that the characters is too low slightly and that yours is too high slightly, I think they are both correct arguments and therefore cancel. I'm going to keep characters at a D. Nobody really convinced me on direction. Sarfnic kind of convinced me a little on D because he said it was slightly better than nothing, but that's what D is designed for. That's literally strength in the D there. Score and sound design... That's fine, War. War! You have defiled this temple with your cues.
First, what's you suggesting, War?
The literal god...
I went back and erased that.
The literal god will now pass judgment upon the Lorax.
C, please be a C.
I actually agree with Sarf on a low C.
This is the lowest C I can possibly give, but it is a C.
Victory.
We'll give it a C. We'll give it a C minus. Sarfnic, nominate your next item.
All right. So, is there a way I can I'm a little bit undecided between Adventure Time and Over the Garden Wall. Which one does the Myra show more interest in reviewing first?
Ah, you show very much wisdom in deferring to the literal god. Let's do Adventure Time.
All right.
Please hold while I set the stage.
All your topics written, right?
I know. I just wrote down the names. I didn't even write down topics for them.
Yeah, like how do you have 3 of each though?
Oh yeah, I have 3 of each. Yeah.
Or about. Okay,
yeah.
Good. Just make sure you cross them out if you're done with them.
Yeah, I'm using strikes.
Adventure Time. What to say about the story of Adventure Time? The setting of Adventure Time is good for what it's meant to accomplish. The story, if you remember in the initial seasons, it's not. It's an anthology. Like, there's very little story progression that links to all episodes. You could watch perhaps 30% of the episodes and get all of the relevant story. Because some of them are anthological in the beginning. And that's fine by me. The story itself, the broad overarching thing, the whole elemental conflict and whatnot, it appeals to me. I'd lie if it didn't. The whole post-apocalyptic thing, it's very, it's that. I'm actually going to give the story of the universe, not just Adventure Time, because Adventure Time is the only one that's universe. I'm going to give that an A.
Oh yeah, have you seen that BMO?
Yes.
I haven't seen that, but it's good.
So, the characters. Certain characters are hit or miss, but all of them are memorable. This is the good piece about this. Finn and Jake, perfectly fine. That's not what makes the show entirely special. Their guest stars are what always make it special. The cult of Marceline Simps speaks to how well that character is written despite being a completely monopic character. Birdlark, for instance. Birdlark and associated Moonrabbit scum with the lesbo bubblegum Marceline shit.
Dressing up as in for Halloween, actually. Camila and Birdlark.
Characters. I love the Ice King. Ice King's actually quite a good character with an actually compelling story, for one thing. Same thing with Marcy. And then you have the meme characters. Certain meme characters, like Lumpy Space Princess, is obviously a good meme character. Characters are good. Characters are fun. Writing and acting. I remember some instances where that show evoked heartache very well. And then there's other instances where it's just random shit. Like, it might as well have come out of regular show, which was its immediate successor. But
when Adventure Time ended after regular show, though.
Yeah, it did. But immediately following up, the first couple seasons of those two were basically a batch deal, Adventure Time and regular show.
They were, yes. I watched them both in unison.
The writing is not overly good. The voice acting is rather good, I think. I don't think I can remember anything that's deliberately cringe in voice acting. Ice King kills it. Finn and Jake, very good. I love Jake's voice actor. Watched a bunch of other stuff with him in it. He does a bunch of stuff for games and whatnot. He has a cameo, if I'm not mistaken.
Dago, whatever.
Yeah, so the writing and acting, Sure. This is fine. The visuals. I could never get behind Adventure Time's art style, but I get it. It was very... Oh, I don't know. What's that one artist that's from around here? I don't even remember. The one with the stupid dogs that he drew. Super cartoony. Super simple. Can't stand the faces. Direction. The only thing I would take umbrage with in the direction is the pacing and the logical leaps that are sometimes revealed. The best thing about fantasy universes is when you call back to things that you know happen that happen nowhere else in that fantasy universe that give you clues. Adventure Time's just all over the place with that kind of shit. There's constant discovery, and maybe it works better with something like a Forgotten Realms. It doesn't work with as short a thing as Oop. I actually give the direction a C. The score and sound design. Sound design is perfectly good. The score, with all those weird synths, is weird. So that would normally be a B. Their actual songs can be somewhat okay, though. Particularly that one that Sard forced me to sing is actually a fairly good song.
The guard.
Give score and sound design a B. Uniqueness. I think this one goes without saying. Anyone who can make that level of fantasy remotely appealing to the cast of people that it was designed for should get an S, if not a Keck. The reason that I don't like Adventure Time is because the narrative kind of diverges from that fantasy universe at times. I mean, obviously it descends, like I said with Ninjago, into a bunch of different shit. There's steampunk, there's a little bit of sci-fi in there.
Yeah, but I feel like it's better.
Yeah, but all of that sci-fi and steampunk is far more unique than IRL sci-fi and steampunk, so that's fine. Refinement. This show got a lot better as it went on. Overall production quality is not great. It's meant to be a lean show. This can't be any higher or any lower than a B. Warcries, you are the opposition. Changed my mind.
Okay, so my first issue would be writing and acting. I don't really have many issues. I almost completely agree with this, but writing and acting, I'd argue is a B+. Just due to, I think the...
Okay, so for the individual substrata, there cannot be pluses or minuses, only the overall.
Okay. So never mind in that case. I will go to visuals and argue for the tone it was trying to set. And I wouldn't like this visual art style for normal. I don't think anyone would, but I think it works really well with a Cartoon Network show, and I really like the tone. I think it should be a B.
Anything else?
It's quite simplistic. No.
Thank you, Mr. Warcries. Mr. Sarfnic.
Oh, so I would honestly argue to raise score to A. I mean, you've obviously heard some of their songs. They're pretty good. Not all of them are good, but also their ambient music, their soundtrack, you know? Their score is pretty decent. I mean, it's actually super weird. They use a lot of different instruments. They don't use the classic instruments that most like Ninjago or Lorax would use. Like
they use a lot of synth and percussive.
Yeah, some of them sound like they're just like they just have cool computery themes. But I almost feel like it increases its uniqueness, obviously for sure. But it's already an S uniqueness, so maybe I would raise music or sound to about an A, possibly. But I understand if you wouldn't. Like if it wasn't for the fact that we couldn't do B pluses, I would do B plus there. But I think I agree with you on the rest here. Writing and acting, I don't agree with you on. So I like Adventure Time with how much side lores it creates, but it also isn't trashy in that way. Like it's super good. Like the Finn's father lore, like literally that guy disappears for like 10 episodes straight, and he just comes back in like the most random ways. And then, spoiler alert, that guy had such a good like story arc. Like, basically,
it's true. He was written well, which is the important piece.
He basically always ran from his problems, and then he actually just turned into like some cosmetic thing. And then Finn from the time he met his father was basically always like angry at him for trying to leave. But in the end, Finn accepted that, which was good.
I'd also like to mention, is Sarf still going? Yeah.
I'll allow you to talk.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention,
Thank you, Mr. Sarfnic. What is
I
it,
really
Mr.
like the
Warcries?
themed episodes. I forgot to mention that before. I really like the themes. The occasional themed episodes.
I didn't like the Halloween themed ones, but I did like that one deer one though. The Halloween one with the deer. But yeah, I think that they did break canon a bit, but they still create so much random callbacks like Flame Princess, Lemon Grab, like Flame Princess lore.
That is a good call, actually, sir. And for that, I will now pass judgment. The only one that I'm actually going to change here is visuals, because Warcries is right. It does go good with the Cartoon Network's audience. This should bring the overall rating of Adventure Time before the literal God's eyes.
A or S.
I'll give it an A+. believe that was Sarfnic's nomination. We have about half an hour to go. Warcries, nominate your second item.
Since that was a really peaceful one, I'm going to do one which is going to cause a fair bit of controversy between us. SCP, Secret Laboratory.
Ooh, that was on my list, so I'll exit out.
Warcries nominates the game SCP, Secret Laboratory, an interesting second choice. Please hold while I set the stage.
I don't want to go in a wave pattern.
Can I actually call for a bathroom break? One of the
5-minute biohydro has been invoked by Mr. Sarfnic. 5 minutes commences now.
Hey, I'm gonna go get something.
I'm gonna take a bathroom break. Yeah.
5-minute biohydro has long concluded. We must do SCP, Secret Laboratory. Core gameplay. I think the idea is vastly, vastly better than the execution here. I like the multi-team, round-based, auto-generated specific goal types. It is virtually impossible to balance shit like that, and SCP actually did that fairly well. The core gameplay, though, could be vastly more engaging. There's only a couple things to do other than charting out the map or upgrading a keycard. If you're an SCP, you just kind of wander around. Same thing in reverse, kind of with Chaos, though. The core gameplay is fine, but it's everything else that'll tear this game down. Sustainability. The fact that the map is randomly generated and that the teams are randomly placed and that there are effectively 5 major ones, that's actually quite good. I actually like that quite a bit. This one just wore super thin on me super fast because as random generated as it is, you can easily figure out the random generations if you're remotely good at the game. Like you can figure this out within like your first 5 rounds if you're smart and completely abuse the system. That being said, it is still randomly generated. I'm gonna give this one a pass, give it a C. The story, the entire SCP lore is fairly good. I like the entire SCP lore. The story as portrayed in Secret Laboratory doesn't matter at all to gameplay. So I'm just going to give this one a C and move on. B, because I like the lore. Visuals. Oh boy. SCP is not renowned for being pretty. SCP Secret Laboratory exposes why. You should need no more on that. Score and sound design. Stock gun bangs. A couple of eerie voice actors over the radio. It's not good. Neither is it super important. There's not a ton to judge off of. Blech. Refinement and development. Anyway. Community.
Oh.
Okay, we're open for debate.
Alright, so since Warcries proposed, I guess I go first, right?
Yes.
Alright, I'm gonna have to agree with you on most of these, except for one of them's gonna be visuals I'm gonna disagree with you on. I feel like, I don't understand why they're an F. I mean, the visuals have improved a lot recently with how they updated
T-pose for 3 seasons after release.
I mean, T-pose is gone now, so I think I'd rate it from what it is now. T-pose, well, they actually mixed it between T-pose and the arms being splayed out for the 049-2. They recently updated 096 to look really good. You haven't seen that yet, but they basically made him. They even improved the sound quality. I know it's not very much. I just say because they updated 096 and they've been kind of changing their their med kits used to look so horrible, but now they're so much better, so much more high quality, and it seems to have a good feeling. Honestly, like when you're in the lab and like when you're in I'd say light containment or heavy, and then and you're all alone and then the ambience is playing. And you know something's happening elsewhere, but you're not sure. It has a good scary feeling. It actually used to scare Lou. So I'd say I definitely raised the visuals to a D or something. But again,
thank you, Mr. Sarfnic. Mr. Warcries.
Not everything you'd like to say.
His time is up regardless.
Okay. I'm just letting people go through the entire thing of doing time, but we'll see. I'm just telling them to do it quick. So I'm gonna go through here. I have a lot of changes to make. Core gameplay is fine. I will leave sustainability for last. This is the most controversial. Story, that's just the SCP story. Doesn't matter to me. There are a few, this game isn't a story game. Doesn't matter. There are obviously inconsistencies. It breaks the lore. Doesn't matter. It's not a story game. Visuals, I'd make it a bold C. I don't really need an explanation as to why. It's absolutely shit. Score sound design. Not this one. I just like to play one song. And the nuke theme. I think I can probably get you to increase this with this one theme because it is very somber and good.
Okay. Oh, the one that plays when people start. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually a fairly okay argument. I know what when you're talking about. Yeah.
Refinement development, bold C, obviously. Developers are shit. Community, I'd even argue to raise that to a D just because it's kind of funny in the fact that the community is that shit and toxic, and that's why people enjoy it. But here, I'm gonna go core gameplay and sustainability. Like, core gameplay, ignoring the fact I'm gonna be going on longer, but this is important. Core gameplay, if you just want to base it on how the game's meant to be played, sure, D. I like how it was meant to be played. I don't like its execution. Now, I think the game has been totally twisted into a different game. I think it's more just a meme game between talking. I don't think you recognize that. I think that's why you can't sustain the game, because you're trying to play it as if it's, just a normal game. I think this is very different from normal games in the fact that all the core or all the sustainability.
We'll play SVSL more than I do now.
With other players.
Like about a year ago, it's the other way around.
That's why I proposed we changed the sustainability to an S, because I have yet to ever get bored of the game, despite the fact that I fucking hate it, because of the community. Player interactions, which are different every time.
Thank you, Mr. Warcries. Okay, final deliberations.
Also, the theme is based off of the SCP actual theme, Agora, which is extremely fucking...
I am actually willing to bring sustainability up to a B. Score sound design? I'm actually going to keep it a C. Reason being is because I just remembered how much I hate every single other piece of score in that game. That score on its own may have been S or A, perhaps A, but the fucking the sound design as it layers with the equipment, it's bad.
I also proposed another thing.
I would withhold it because I had another thing I want to tell him about the Lorax, but time cut off.
Bold C.
I'm not going to make the visuals a bold. Well, yes, because of polygons.
Have improved the models.
After everything.
Yeah, but they still have T-pose. It took them way too long, which is why I also put the refinement development as the C.
Exactly. I think that should go into refinement development. They are the worst developers fucking ever.
Yeah, they're worse than Wildcard.
Not to mention, the update that they announced to drop in April dropped in July. Yeah.
Very well. The literal god will now pass judgment upon SCP Secret Laboratory. SCP Secret Laboratory is a fucking felonious game. Get him out of here.
I agree.
Alright, so...
Mr. Sarfnic, you may now nominate your third and final topic.
Please go where they said with the entities, please.
So you do not want me to pick an entity? Is that what it
is? You may pick one of anything. Just do whatever you want. You have one topic.
I recommended we pick ourselves.
Wait, what? What do you mean more?
I recommend we pick ourselves for the first episode.
Alright, so we'll save that for later. I choose the moon as my entity.
Wait. These last two final ones, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what? I thought you said we were going to start the next one with ourselves, right?
No, I was
that's
saying.
Fine.
No,
do that.
Okay. I guess that's fine. I just wanted to end it on kind of a summary note, almost.
Very well. So I'll choose Sarfnic has selected.
Wait, give me 1 second. I am looking at the moon right now. There you go. So, I will be witnessing its reaction to your judgment, Aramus.
The moon. Please give me a moment to set the stage.
Relevance to the roll. God, that's gonna be like a K right there.
All right, Sarfnic has selected the moon. The literal god will now pass initial judgment on the moon. The relevance to the literal god, the moon is obviously a part of my life, but not so much as if I would, stare at it every single night. That being said, I do always see it every single night because I am up every single night during the entire night. So this is good. This definitely has better relevance to the literal god than the sun. This is S-tier relevance to me. I love the moon. Philosophical merit. This is most often poisoned by hippies. There are several cooler religions around the moon than the hippies would tell you. For instance, every single religious institution that uses the moon today pales in how the Forgotten Realms universe uses the moon.
The moon's looking pretty happy right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, look at it.
Who is technically part and parcel of the Forgotten Realms, they just call her Shar. But, yeah. Philosophical merit of the moon. It's very good. It's the symbol of Nyx. Honestly, I don't think there can be any better of a philosophical symbol. For that reason, that the philosophical merit of the moon is kept.
Oh my god.
Rational merit of the moon. This is very rational, particularly in historics, because the U.S. is the superior power. We were the first to land on the moon. That obviously makes us better than everyone. Rational merit of the moon is fantastic. It's the best thing to do if you want to sim fucking several dozen physical constants. We have to do a lot with constants of the moon, particularly gravitation, in my field of study. The rational merit of the moon is very strong. The meme potential of the moon, sadly, is near to exclusively because Sarfnic likes it.
No.
Yeah, there you go. There are several good moon memes. We are going to steal the moon! And Moon King, if you people remember that shit from Flapjack. The meme potential, it's not great. It's average. You can use the moon funnily. It's just so far off, man. My personal approval of the moon. You know what? It's earth tone. It shines amongst darkness. It is only visible in darkness. There is some poetic shit that I love about the moon. I am not a moon simp like someone here. But honestly, I do approve of the moon. It generates the tides. I'm in the energy industry. If I ever do tidal energy, that'll be why. The moon, I will have monetary debts to the moon in that case. So my personal approval of the moon is very high. Sarfnic nominated the moon, so Warcries, begin your arguments.
So as Aramus said, he said, I am not a moon simp like someone here. I'm assuming he was referring to me, as moon is the symbol of Nyx. I give it a K on everything except for meme potential. As meme potential, you see, you do not dare meme, or you do not dare meme our religious symbol. Absolute hypocrite fucking bitch head.
Comic Sans cringe.
Thank you, Mr. Warcries. All right. Mr. Sarfnic.
Mr. Sarfnic has to agree with personal approval because without the moon, the Earth would be spinning way, way faster, and Aramus's daytime sleep time thing will be much different. Sarfnic agrees with everything except he wants to raise the meme potential to a K. Actually, no, never mind. I changed my mind. S. Because he believes that the moon has been memed many times, from the TikTok witches that tried to curse it that one time. That was pretty fucking hilarious and cringe. And since it was usually, if it wasn't TikTok, it would probably make it a Comic Sans.
Shut the fuck up!
Since it was TikTok counters cringe with cringe. Cringe plus cringe is a double negative, meaning it's a positive. So I believe that should raise it.
Curious. If that were true, why wouldn't you be multiplying them? Sarfnic. Thank you, Mr. Sarfnic. I think we've heard enough. It's a fair argument for the whole TikTok thing, but TikTok is cringe, and no Keck memes have been produced from TikTok in a while as a result of the Chinese spyware that it is. I'm going to raise personal approval to a Keck.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Aramus, you gotta worship next. Lower meme potential to her bold C, please. Comic Sans bold C.
Sarfnic made a cogent case, but I will simply demote it to a normal C.
Fuck, Aramus, I guess Aramus is a fake. He doesn't even actually...
Hey man, Centaurus and his relationship with Nyx, it's complicated.
Candidate Warcries,
Centaurus is...
Hold on a minute, are you bribing? Are you bribing the moderator? Candidate Warcries?
That's allowed?
You are bribing the moderator. Let's pull Donald Trump here. You... What'd you say? Smart? Don't you ever use that word with me.
Excuse me, Mr. Sarfnic.
Smart? Don't you ever use that word with me.
Gentlemen.
You graduated bottom of your class.
You graduated
bottom of your class.
Sorry.
Hey, War got muted. Oh, no, I got muted.
There you go. Server muted. Bitch, man.
Both of us got muted.
The literal god will now pass a rating on the moon. The moon is an S-tier celestial object.
Angry. I am angry.
Very well. Warcries, nominate your third and final subject to be indexed.
Okay, so I already did my tweet there. I was gonna meme Sarfnic and just make him completely K-tier, but Since I don't want to do a meme now, we will go with a Warcries.
Warcries nominates himself. Very well. Warcries has nominated himself for an atonement speech before me. The relevance to the literal god of Warcries in the past years has been substantial. He is the reason I am what I am to Hearth and how I love it so. It is fantastic. He was instrumental in my rise to power thereabouts. Gave me someone to whinge about college with that. Honestly,
He was a lot to me too.
Definitely
so me tomorrow.
A fair surrogate for the Seven in
Aramus
the times of darkness that we are in, where the Seven and I can no longer call the council. Philosophical merit of Warcries. Warcries is a pretty gifted philosopher. The fact that he is Canadian, however, makes all of his points void. Though he does happen to agree with me on literally everything. I'm sorry, what was that smell Canadian, man? I cannot hear you. Your philosophical merit is still a kick. Just don't let that turn into a C. The rational merit of Warcries. Warcries is too rational, such that he becomes irrational sometimes. However, the fact that I have to talk about him being too rational means that his rational merit is in fact a K. See my rationale? The meme potential of Warcries. I mean, he's a Canadian.
That's more to say, Aramus. What's more to say?
Exactly. He's a Canadian who is terrified of doxing. He's like the stereotypical Roblox kid, but he has layers to him. So let's give the meme potential for. Well, he does make some pretty good memes. I still remember to this day Cynthorus's Gacha Farms, Lemon Grab versus Bed Wars, Kybe's Treachery, and the Fall of Everneth meme. So all of those are very, very nice. Cynthorus's Managarmr battles are some very good memes. Warcries has S-tier meme potential. My personal approval of Warcries. All of these things withstanding, normally this would instantly result in a kick because I do not personally approve of nearly anyone. However, altruism bad. Personal approval will only be an S because I'm not an altruist. An altruist would judge this objectively. Warcries, you nominated this. Sarfnic, make your contentions.
Okay, so I have to admit that some of these seem right, but okay, so I agree with you on rational merit. Philosophical merit, could you explain that again?
So philosophical merit is basically anything that rational merit doesn't cover, because rationals are super simple. That is objective truths. So for scaled to an entity that is a human, that would be how rational they are or what value they provide. The tangible things, you know. The philosophical merit, on the other hand, is for a human how they would think, how they process the world, and how that is valuable.
All right.
Or if they give you something to process that is valuable.
So the opposition has no further comments or problems.
Thank you, Mr. Sarfnic. Warcries, make your contentions.
Except, wait. One comment though. I think you should take into account that Warcries is gay and a poopy head.
That's true. Alright, Warcries.
Well, I mean, I've got to say, Sarfnic got me there. How can you make proper memes if you're a gay poopy head? Otherwise, I completely agree. So, let me just do this, and there we go, all done.
I see. The literal god disagrees, and therefore, your meme potential will stay the same. Warcries is an S+ individual.
To yourself.
Get the mod. So, I thought we were done, but I love myself.
We are.
So.
We need to finish it off with Sarf.
A Q,
or we
man.
can leave a cliffhanger here.
Cliffhangers are fake news, and it is for this reason. I don't think we should burn ourselves out, man. Here's to us. This phenomenal series is coming unto its own very quickly, I think. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was the first installment of the Eisen Index Review Public Debates. We thank you all for coming, and knows that you are being watched. Do not dare export any untoward subscriptions to Sarfnic or any of his subservient channels. Do not dare give this video a like in any way, shape, or form. Unless, of course, it is for you showing your reverence to me, the literal god. Thank you all for coming. Good night.
You forgot to do the only a small percentage of you guys are subscribed.
Fuck off. Server mute.